The FIFA World Cup isn't just the pinnacle of football, it's one of the biggest events in global sports, uniting billions of fans around the world every 4 years. For over 9 decades, it has served as a stage where players achieve immortality and where unforgettable stories of triumph, heartbreak, and raw emotion unfold. It is often said that the World Cup transcends the sport of football itself. For the nations that compete, it becomes a celebration of unity, culture, and collective pride. But how did this monumental event begin? What foundational steps were taken to evolve football from a regional pastime into a global obsession? In this video, we're going on a journey through time, from the World Cup's humble beginnings to its status today as a grand spectacle of athletic skill and international camaraderie. Along the way, we'll revisit the pivotal tournaments, relive legendary performances, and dive deep into the iconic moments and controversies that have shaped the tournament's illustrious history. Buckle up, because the story of the FIFA World Cup is a gripping tale of human achievement, resilience, and passion. The origins of the FIFA World Cup can be traced back to the early 20th century when football began to gain prominence as a competitive sport. Although football tournaments were featured at the Olympics as early as 1900, these games did not fully capture the imagination of football fans worldwide because they were largely limited to amateur participation. The gap in the market for a professional international football competition was evident, and it was Jules Rimet, the third president of FIFA, who turned this vision into reality. In 1928, Rimet spearheaded the decision to establish a standalone global football tournament, one that would allow professional players to compete and showcase their talents on an international stage. 2 years later, the inaugural FIFA World Cup took place in Uruguay. Why Uruguay? At the time, Uruguay was celebrating its 100th year of independence and was one of the powerhouses of world football, having won gold medals in the last two Olympic Games in 1924 and 1928. The South American nation not only hosted the event, but also went on to crown their centennial celebrations with a victory, defeating Argentina 4-2 in a thrilling final at the Estadio Centenario in Montevideo. Uruguay's triumph was witnessed by over 93,000 fans in the stadium, as football officially entered the global stage. The Jules Rimet Trophy itself symbolized much more than athletic achievement. It represented international unity and the universal language of football. However, organizing this monumental event was far from simple. The long sea voyage deterred many European nations from participating, and only 4 teams from Europe attended. Still, that first tournament laid the foundation for what would become the most beloved and eagerly awaited sporting competition in the world. Traveling back in time to 1930, one of the unique aspects of the inaugural FIFA World Cup was just how difficult it was to organize and participate in a tournament of this scale. At the time, transatlantic travel was an arduous and time-consuming endeavor. Most participants from Europe had to endure weeks-long voyages by ship to reach Uruguay, a situation that inevitably limited the scope of the tournament. Thus, only 13 teams participated, with 7 hailing from South America, 4 from Europe, and 2 from North America. Despite these constraints, the tournament created an atmosphere of unmatched passion and excitement. Football's popularity soared, and fan fervor reached new heights as matches were played at packed stadiums, culminating in the thrilling final between Uruguay and Argentina at Estadio Centenario. Speaking of the final, the match itself was a roller coaster of emotions. Argentina took the lead at one point, but Uruguay rallied back with a fiery performance, eventually winning 4-2 amidst jubilant celebrations by the home crowd. The energy that radiated from that match seemed to foretell what the World Cup would come to signify for millions around the globe, not just a tournament, but a celebration of national pride and human achievement. It's also interesting to note that, in 1930, there was no live television coverage to broadcast the games to wider audiences. Imagine a time when fans had to rely on newspapers and word of mouth to follow the tournament. And yet, that didn't deter football enthusiasts from flocking to games or following results from afar. The crowd of 93,000 at the final match in Montevideo was unprecedented at the time and set a benchmark for future tournaments. From the perspective of cultural impact, the 1930 World Cup planted the seeds for football's journey toward becoming the universal language of sport. It also raised questions about the intersection of technology, global travel, and the future growth of sports, a theme we still see explored today in modern tournaments. The success of the first World Cup gave FIFA the momentum to launch subsequent tournaments, and the 1934 and 1938 editions saw the event evolve in prominence. The 1934 FIFA World Cup was notable for being the first to include a qualification phase. Unlike the inaugural tournament in 1930, where participation was by invitation, this change indicated the growing competitiveness and global appeal of the event. Hosted by Italy, the tournament saw 16 nations compete, with the Italians ultimately emerging as champions after a hard-fought 2-1 victory over Czechoslovakia in the final. This victory catapulted Italy's team into the international spotlight, and the tactical innovations introduced by Vittorio Pozzo, the Italian coach, became a hallmark of the game's evolution. However, the 1934 World Cup was more than just a triumph for Italian football. It also became controversial due to its political undertones. At the time, Benito Mussolini's fascist regime sought to use the tournament as a propaganda tool to boost national pride and showcase Italy's might to the rest of the world. The final match, in particular, was clouded by rumors of undue influence and favoritism toward the host nation, adding another layer of intrigue and debate to football history. For years later, in 1938, France became the first nation to host the FIFA World Cup outside of South America. Once again, Italy, defending their title, demonstrated their dominance by winning back-to-back World Cups. Their victory over Hungary in the final marked the first time a team had achieved consecutive World Cup successes, cementing their legacy in the annals of football history. But unlike today, these tournaments were relatively small in scale. The 1938 tournament, for instance, featured only 15 teams. Despite being a global competition in name, political tensions were brewing worldwide during the lead-up to World War II, casting a shadow over the proceedings. Several teams, including South American heavyweights such as Uruguay and Argentina, chose not to participate, citing logistical issues and disagreements over FIFA's decision-making. In retrospect, the tournaments of the 1930s were not just pivotal moments in football history, but also snapshots of the socio-political climates of their respective eras. They revealed the early intersection of sports, national pride, and geopolitical dynamics, a recurring theme that would re-emerge in later tournaments. The breakthrough came in the 1920s, led by Jules Rimet, who passionately revived the idea of a global football tournament. In 1928, during a FIFA Congress in Amsterdam, the decision was made to create the FIFA World Cup, an international tournament open to all nations, with no restrictions on amateur or professional players. Uruguay, the reigning football powerhouse and two-time Olympic champion, was selected to host the inaugural event in 1930, as it symbolized the sport's rapid expansion beyond Europe. But the road to the first World Cup wasn't without its hurdles. European nations were hesitant to travel across the Atlantic due to the cost and logistics involved, leading to only 13 teams competing in the tournament. Despite this modest beginning, the first World Cup marked the starting point of the game's global phenomenon. The FIFA World Cup officially began on July 13, 1930, hosted by Uruguay in celebration of the country's centenary of independence and its dominance in international football at the time. Uruguay, already a two-time Olympic champion in 1924 and 1928, was seen as a fitting choice for the first tournament. But organizing the event came with its challenges. Travel was a major obstacle, as players and teams had to brave long transatlantic journeys by ship. Despite concerns, 13 nations traveled to compete, including 7 from South America, 4 from Europe, and 2 from North America, an eclectic mix fueling this historic moment. The format of the tournament was straightforward yet unique by today's standards. Teams were split into 4 groups, and only the winners of each group advanced to the semifinals. Uruguay quickly showcased their strength, dominating their matches with superb offense and rigorous defense. Meanwhile, Argentina emerged as South America's second powerhouse, establishing themselves as Uruguay's main rivals. The final match took place on July 30th, drawing an exuberant crowd of nearly 93,000 spectators to Montevideo's Estadio Centenario, a stadium constructed specifically for the tournament in record time. FIFA later referred to this stadium as an architectural marvel for its era. In what became one of football's earliest iconic matches, Uruguay faced Argentina in a gripping final. After trailing at halftime, Uruguay rallied to a stunning 4-2 victory, showcasing resilience and skill under pressure. The win solidified Uruguay as the world's first champions and cemented its place in football history. José Nasazi, Uruguay's captain, became the tournament's standout star, celebrated for his leadership and defensive mastery. The success of the 1930 World Cup not only captured the enthusiasm of fans worldwide, but also proved that football could unite cultures on an unprecedented scale, a legacy that continues to thrive today. The 1934 FIFA World Cup, hosted by Italy, marked a significant evolution from the inaugural tournament in Uruguay. It was the first World Cup to implement a qualification process, with 32 teams competing for just 16 spots, highlighting the growing global interest in the sport. This was also the first time the tournament was played in Europe, and it featured several notable changes, such as every match being a knockout round. Italy, buoyed by passionate home support, and under the leadership of coach Vittorio Pozzo, emerged as the dominant force. The final, held in Rome, saw Italy face Czechoslovakia in a dramatic match that went into extra time. Star player Angelo Schiavio scored the decisive goal, securing Italy's first championship with a 2-1 victory. Interestingly, the tournament has often been remembered not only for its footballing triumphs, but also for the controversial undertones of Mussolini's regime using it as a propaganda tool to showcase Italian supremacy on the global stage. The 1938 tournament, held in France, continued the World Cup's rising popularity, but was clouded by the geopolitical tensions of the time. Spain was absent due to its ongoing civil war, and several nations, like Uruguay, boycotted in protest of the tournament being held in Europe again. Despite these challenges, the competition didn't fail to deliver compelling football. Italy, the defending champions, showcased their tactical brilliance once more under Vittorio Pozzo's guidance. The team defeated Hungary 4-2 in the final at the Stade Olympique de Colombe in Paris, becoming the first nation ever to win consecutive World Cup titles. This victory cemented Italy's legacy as early giants of international football. A memorable moment of the tournament occurred when Italy faced France, and the Italian players controversially wore black shirts, a symbol associated with Italian fascism, further highlighting the intersection of sports and politics during this era. Despite these controversies, the players' on-field exploits, including Giuseppe Meazza's leadership, left an indelible mark on World Cup history. As the world prepared for the next FIFA World Cup following the 1938 edition in France, dark clouds loomed on the horizon. By the late 1930s, political tensions in Europe had escalated into an all-out global conflict with the outbreak of World War II in 1939. Plans for the 1942 FIFA World Cup were already in motion, with Germany, Brazil, and Argentina reportedly vying to host. However, the onset of war not only disrupted everyday life, but also forced FIFA to reluctantly cancel the 1942 tournament. Football stadia across Europe were repurposed for wartime efforts, turned into military barracks, supply depots, or even bomb shelters. Many prominent players found themselves trading the green pitch for the battlefield, with careers cut short and lives tragically lost. Football, once considered a unifying force, came to a near standstill on the global stage. A lingering post-war recovery meant that FIFA also had no choice but to cancel the 1946 tournament. With countries focusing on rebuilding shattered economies and grappling with widespread destruction, hosting an international sporting event seemed inconceivable. Players, federations, and fans yearned for the return of World Cup glory, but the sport itself needed time to recover. However, the cancellation of 2 consecutive tournaments only intensified the hunger for football's greatest stage. FIFA used this period to refine its vision for a post-war comeback, eventually leading to the revival of the World Cup in 1950 in Brazil. Curiously, this hiatus also gave rise to one of football's most enduring legends, the impromptu and often informal wartime leagues that sprang up across several countries during the conflict, keeping the spirit of the game alive despite the turmoil. After a disruptive 12-year pause due to World War II, the FIFA World Cup finally returned in 1950, bringing with it renewed hope and global unity. The honor of hosting this monumental event fell to Brazil, a nation passionate about football and eager to showcase its love for the sport on the world stage. The centerpiece of the tournament was the newly built Maracana Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, a colossus designed to hold nearly 200,000 spectators, making it the largest football stadium in the world at the time. Unfortunately, not all nations were present. Key footballing powerhouses such as Germany and Japan were excluded due to their roles in the war, while countries like Scotland and Turkey withdrew for various logistical and financial reasons. The unusual format of the competition added intrigue. Instead of a traditional knockout stage, the finalists played in a final group round-robin format to decide the champion. This meant that the stage was set for one of the most dramatic games in football history. The tournament reached its emotional climax on July 16, 1950, when Brazil faced Uruguay in what was effectively the final match, with only a draw needed for the hosts to lift their first World Cup trophy. The city was electric, and over 173,000 spectators packed into the Maracana for the game, sensing an inevitable Brazilian triumph. Brazil took the lead early in the second half, but Uruguay, defying all odds, turned the game around with goals from one Alberto Schiaffino and Alcides Guja. The final whistle blew, cementing Uruguay's 2-1 victory and plunging the Brazilian crowd into stunned silence. This match came to be known as the Maracanazo, or the Maracana Blow, a result that left a deep scar on Brazilian football for generations. Guja, who scored the winning goal, famously remarked years later, "Only 3 people have ever silenced the Maracana: the Pope, Frank Sinatra, and me." Uruguay claimed its second World Cup, while Brazil was left to rebuild its footballing psyche after losing a tournament they were heavily favored to win. The 1954 FIFA World Cup, hosted by Switzerland, culminated in one of the most dramatic finals in football history. Dubbed the Miracle of Bern, the final on July 4, 1954, pitted an underdog West Germany against a seemingly invincible Hungary, known as the Mighty Magyars. Hungary came into the tournament as the overwhelming favorites, having gone undefeated in 32 matches over the previous 4 years. Led by their legendary captain Ferenc Puskás, Hungary had already dominated West Germany 8-3 in the group stage and showcased their dynamic, attack-heavy style of play throughout the competition. By the final, Hungary appeared destined to claim their first World Cup title. However, a persistent West German squad, marshaled by coach Sepp Herberger, held on to hope for an upset. The final match began with Hungary taking a quick 2-0 lead within the first 8 minutes, thanks to goals from Ferenc Puskás and Zoltán Zabor. Despite this early setback, West Germany responded swiftly, equalizing before halftime with goals from Max Morlock and Helmut Rahn. The second half saw relentless Hungarian attacks, but West German goalkeeper Toni Turek made several heroic saves to keep his team in contention. Then, in the 84th minute, Helmut Rahn scored his second goal of the game, giving West Germany a 3-2 lead. Hungary continued to fight, even having an equalizer from Puskás disallowed for offside, but the whistle soon blew, sealing an iconic victory for West Germany. This triumph shocked the footballing world and served as a symbolic moment of recovery for post-war Germany, cementing the Miracle of Bern as one of the greatest underdog stories in sports history. The 1958 FIFA World Cup in Sweden marked a seismic shift in the footballing world, as Brazil not only lifted their first trophy, but also introduced the planet to a teenage prodigy who would go on to define the sport itself: Pele. At just 17 years old, Pele became the youngest player ever to take part in a World Cup final, and his star shone brightly. Brazil stormed through the tournament, dazzling spectators with an unprecedented style of play that emphasized creativity, flair, and precise teamwork. The final match, held in Stockholm, featured Brazil versus Sweden, the host nation. Brazil triumphed with an emphatic 5-2 victory, cementing their place in football history. Pele scored 2 stunning goals, including a mesmerizing one where he chipped the ball over a defender and volleyed it into the net with poetry in motion. This performance firmly etched Pele's name into legend. Beyond Pele's brilliance, Brazil's 1958 squad embodied a new era of football excellence. With players like Garrincha, known for his incredible dribbling skills, Zito's midfield control, and Captain Bellini lifting the trophy high, this team sparked the beginning of Brazilian dominance in world football. An interesting fact about this historic win is that 1958 was the first World Cup where players wore numbered jerseys consistently assigned to positions. Brazil's yellow jerseys with green trims became an enduring symbol of football art. Additionally, this tournament was the first to be broadcast internationally, allowing fans as far away as South America to celebrate the team's success in real time. Brazil's victory not only united a nation but also set the tone for their identity as footballing royalty, an identity that would remain for decades to come. The 1962 FIFA World Cup took place in Chile, against the backdrop of a nation recovering from a devastating earthquake just 2 years earlier. Despite the challenges, the Chilean people hosted an enthralling tournament that would go down in history. Brazil entered the tournament as defending champions, having triumphed in 1958, and were heavily favored due to the presence of stars like Pele and Garrincha. Yet, unexpectedly, Brazil suffered an early scare when Pele sustained an injury in the group stage that ruled him out for the rest of the tournament. Many feared the team's hopes of retaining the title were dashed. Stepping into the spotlight, however, was Garrincha, a winger known for his mesmerizing dribbles, unpredictable movement, and unrelenting creativity on the field. What followed was an awe-inspiring performance that single-handedly carried Brazil to victory in match after match. Garrincha was nothing short of extraordinary in the knockout stages. His decisive contributions in the quarterfinals against England and the semifinals against Chile solidified his status as a World Cup hero. Scoring 2 sublime goals in each match, Garrincha's brilliance dazzled both fans and opponents alike. Despite playing with a fever during the final, Brazil defeated Czechoslovakia 3-1 to claim their second consecutive World Cup trophy, becoming only the second nation to achieve this feat after Italy in the 1930s. Garrincha's efforts earned him the Golden Boot as the tournament's top scorer, as well as the recognition of being the tournament's most outstanding player. This tournament marked the last time the world would witness Garrincha at his peak, his legacy forever tied to Brazil's golden era of football. The 1966 FIFA World Cup was hosted by England, the nation credited with creating modern football, and it marked the country's first and only World Cup victory. Held across venues steeped in footballing history, such as Wembley Stadium, fans witnessed England emerge from a tightly contested tournament to claim glory. The final against West Germany on July 30th, 1966, remains one of the most controversial and talked about matches in World Cup history. It was a clash of footballing titans, a tense affair that saw England fight back after West Germany's Helmut Haller gave his side an early lead. Geoff Hurst equalized, and Martin Peters put England ahead before Wolfgang Weber leveled the match in the dying seconds of regular time, taking the game into extra time. It was here that Hurst's pivotal role cemented his legacy in football folklore. In extra time, Geoff Hurst scored the most debated goal in World Cup history, his second of the match. His shot struck the crossbar and bounced down onto the goal line. After deliberation, the referee awarded the goal, relying on the input of Soviet linesman Tofik Baramov, igniting a controversy that persists to this day. England's jubilant momentum culminated with Hurst delivering a third goal, completing the only hat trick ever scored in a World Cup final as England secured a 4-2 victory. Fans erupted into celebrations, immortalizing the words of commentator Kenneth Wolstenholme. Some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now. Beyond its drama, the 1966 final left lasting impacts on the sport, from its marking of England's pinnacle achievement to debates surrounding technology in officiating in football. The 1970 FIFA World Cup, hosted by Mexico, is often hailed as a watershed moment in football history. Brazil entered the tournament with high expectations, boasting an exceptional lineup that included legends like Jairzinho, Tostão, Rivellino, Carlos Alberto, and of course, Pele. This marked Pele's fourth and final World Cup appearance, and he was determined to leave an indelible legacy on the sport. Brazil's attacking style, characterized by flair, imagination, and perfect team coordination, took the world by storm. Under coach Mario Zagallo, who himself won as a player in 1958 and 1962, Brazil adopted innovative tactics that balanced individual brilliance with collective teamwork. They dazzled fans with goals that were not just effective, but also artistic expressions of football. One standout moment was Pele's famous feint against goalkeeper Ladislao Mazurkiewicz of Uruguay in the semifinals, where he deliberately let the ball run past him, hoodwinking the keeper in a maneuver that astonished players and spectators alike. The final, played against Italy, encapsulated Brazil's brilliance. Pele opened the scoring with a towering header and later provided one of the most iconic assists in World Cup history. A perfectly weighted pass to captain Carlos Alberto, who blasted the ball into the net for Brazil's fourth goal in a stunning 4-1 victory. Brazil's dominance in the tournament was unparalleled. They won all 6 of their matches, scoring 19 goals and solidifying their reputation as the greatest team ever assembled. Pele, who had already become a global symbol of football, retired from international competition as the only player with 3 World Cup titles, a record that remains unmatched. The legacy of the 1970 Brazilian team extends beyond their victories. It forever redefined the artistry and possibilities of the game, inspiring generations of players and fans around the world. The 1974 FIFA World Cup, hosted in West Germany, introduced the world to one of the most revolutionary styles of football ever seen: total football. Spearheaded by the Dutch national team and conceptualized by their trailblazing coach Rinus Michels, this system emphasized fluidity, versatility, and adaptability. Players interchangeably occupied different positions on the field, seamlessly transforming defense into attack while dismantling conventional tactics of the time. At the heart of this tactical revolution was the legendary Johan Cruyff, whose intelligence, technical mastery, and unparalleled vision epitomized the philosophy. Cruyff became the talismanic figure for a team that played with beauty, precision, and a daring approach that left spectators in awe. Under his leadership, the Netherlands surged through the tournament, including a 4-0 demolition of Argentina and a commanding 2-0 semifinal victory over reigning champions Brazil. For many, the Dutch appearances were nothing short of artistry, redefining how football could be played and showcasing the sport as a stage for creativity and strategy in equal measure. Despite the Netherlands' innovation and dominance, it was West Germany who emerged victorious. The final, held in Munich's Olympiastadion in front of 75,000 fans, pitted the hosts against the dazzling Dutch. In a dramatic twist, the Netherlands scored within the very first minute, converting a penalty earned by Cruyff before a single German had touched the ball. However, West Germany, anchored by legends Franz Beckenbauer, Gerd Müller, and Paul Breitner, showcased resilience and tactical discipline. Breitner equalized through a penalty, and Muller's clinical finish sealed a 2-1 victory for the hosts. This match not only solidified West Germany's status as a footballing powerhouse, but was also a clash of stylistic ideologies: total football versus the disciplined, pragmatic approach of the Germans. It was a game for the ages, and while the Dutch earned admiration, glory ultimately belonged to the hosts. The 1978 FIFA World Cup, held in Argentina, unfolded against a backdrop of political turmoil. Just 2 years earlier, a military coup had brought a dictatorship to power, casting a shadow over the tournament. The junta, under General Jorge Videla, employed the World Cup as a propaganda tool to project an image of stability and control to the international community. Beneath the celebratory ambience, however, Argentina was grappling with widespread human rights violations, including the infamous Dirty War, during which thousands of citizens were subjected to enforced disappearances. Despite protests and boycotts from certain human rights organizations, FIFA pressed forward with the tournament, citing their policy of separating sports from politics. This decision, coupled with the visible military presence at the stadiums, remains a topic of debate among historians to this day. Amid the political tension, the Argentine team delivered moments of footballing drama. Coached by Cesar Luis Menotti and led on the field by Mario Kempes, Argentina triumphed on home soil, defeating the Netherlands 3-1 in a dramatic final after extra time. Kempes, the tournament's top scorer with 6 goals, became a national hero. However, the legitimacy of Argentina's win faced controversy, particularly surrounding their 6-0 victory against Peru in the second group stage. a result that secured their place in the final. Accusations arose of potential political interference or match fixing, reflecting the mistrust in the regime's motives. Despite these doubts, the final itself remains iconic, with Kemp's double and an electric atmosphere in Buenos Aires etching the moment into football history. The 1982 FIFA World Cup in Spain was a theatrical spectacle filled with unforgettable moments, none more compelling than the redemption arc of Paolo Rossi. Rossi, who had been suspended for 2 years following his involvement in a match-fixing scandal, entered the tournament under immense scrutiny. Italy itself had a shaky start, barely advancing out of the group stage with 3 uninspiring draws. But everything changed in the second group phase, where Rossi came alive. In a stunning performance against tournament favorites Brazil, a team that boasted an all-star lineup including Zico, Socrates, and Falcao, Rossi delivered a hat-trick in a 3-2 victory, which is still considered one of the greatest matches in World Cup history. This performance not only silenced his critics, but also elevated him to legendary status practically overnight. Italy's momentum carried them all the way to the final, where they faced West Germany, another powerhouse team. Rossi struck once more, scoring the opening goal in Italy's commanding 3-1 victory, with further goals from Marco Tardelli and Alessandro Altobelli sealing the triumph. The iconic image of Tardelli's emotional celebration after scoring, fists pumping and tears streaming, etched itself into World Cup lore. Rossi finished the tournament as the top scorer with 6 goals, earning the Golden Boot and the Golden Ball. Italy's victory also marked their first World Cup triumph since 1938, a gap of 44 years. The tournament's legacy is forever tied to Rossi's stunning comeback story, illustrating the redemptive power of sports and how the beautiful game can provide a platform for transformative human narratives. The 1986 FIFA World Cup, held in Mexico, will forever be remembered for the electric brilliance of Diego Maradona. The Argentine maestro redefined individual excellence in football, mesmerizing fans with a dazzling display of skill and creativity. At the heart of his unforgettable campaign were 2 moments in the quarterfinal against England that sealed his legendary status. The first was the controversial Hand of God goal, where Maradona outjumped England goalkeeper Peter Shilton and, with a slight flick of his left hand, sent the ball into the net. The act was sly, unseen by the referees, and later described by Maradona as a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. This moment remains one of the most debated incidents in football history, embodying the drama and spectacle of the World Cup. Just 4 minutes after the hand of God, Maradona delivered what is widely hailed as the goal of the century. Picking up the ball in his own half, Maradona embarked on a breathtaking solo run, weaving through 5 England defenders with mesmerizing dribbles, swift body feints, and extraordinary balance. Covering 60 yards in just 11 seconds, he coolly slotted the ball past Shilton, leaving fans and commentators in awe. That moment encapsulated his genius and ability to elevate football to an art form. Maradona's dominance continued throughout the tournament, guiding Argentina to victory in the final against West Germany with a 3-2 win. This was not just a triumph for Argentina, but a defining chapter in the history of football, where individual brilliance met global acclaim. The 1990 FIFA World Cup, hosted in Italy, was a tournament emblematic of defensive tactics and gritty gameplay that stifled the attacking flair typically associated with the sport. A record 24 teams competed across 12 cities, with iconic stadiums like Milan's San Siro and Rome's Stadio Olimpico providing the backdrop for tense battles. Despite pre-tournament hype around attacking talents like Roberto Baggio of Italy and Paul Gascoigne of England, the competition saw a record low average of 2.2 goals per match. Teams prioritized cautious, defensive strategies, with 5 of the knockout stage matches going into extra time and 4 being decided by penalty shootouts. Notably, Cameroon, led by 38-year-old striker Roger Milla, became the first African side to reach the quarterfinals, captivating global audiences with their fearless approach and marking a watershed moment for African football. In the final, played at Rome's Stadio Olimpico, it was a rematch of the 1986 title clash, West Germany versus reigning champions Argentina. Unlike the high-scoring final of 1986, This was a cagey affair marked by fouls and frustration. An 85th-minute penalty converted by Andreas Brehme sealed a 1-0 victory for West Germany, handing them their third World Cup title. This victory also marked the end of an era for West Germany, as the nation would reunify later that year. The tournament reflected a pragmatic approach to football, and while it lacked the attacking brilliance of prior editions, it provided dramatic narratives. Franz Beckenbauer became the first man to win the World Cup as both a player and manager, forever etching his name into football's legendary pantheon. The United States hosted the FIFA World Cup for the first time in 1994, marking a bold effort by FIFA to popularize football in a country where it had struggled to gain a foothold. The tournament became the most attended in World Cup history, with an average of nearly 69,000 fans per game, and it generated enormous global attention. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, hosted the final match, symbolizing the synergy between football's global legacy and America's grand stage. The tournament also introduced some notable firsts, including the use of player names on jerseys, which added a commercial touch to the event and made stars like Brazil's Romario and Italy's Roberto Baggio household names worldwide. Teams like Bulgaria reached their first semifinal, and Sweden's attacking prowess won hearts. But the real story was Brazil's journey back to the summit of world football. In a nail-biting final, Brazil faced Italy in a tactical showdown that ended goalless after both standard and extra time. For the first time in World Cup history, the title was decided by a penalty shootout. Brazil emerged victorious, winning 3-2, with their goalkeeper Claudio Taffarel making critical saves. It marked Brazil's fourth World Cup title, cementing their position as the sport's most successful nation at the time. However, the final is also remembered for its heartbreaking moment. Roberto Baggio, Italy's talismanic playmaker, stepped up to take his penalty with the game on the line, but sent the ball soaring over the crossbar, leaving him crestfallen. Despite the miss, Baggio's brilliance throughout the tournament earned him worldwide respect, and his performance in '94 remains one of the most remarkable in World Cup lore. Brazil's triumph would ignite a footballing renaissance in South America, while the USA's hosting set the foundation for Major League Soccer's launch in 1996, forever changing the game in the United States. The 1998 FIFA World Cup was a special moment in football history as it marked the first time France hosted the tournament. Held across 10 cities, including Paris, Marseille, and Lyon, the event featured an expanded format of 32 teams, showcasing the increasing global reach of football. Notably, the tournament witnessed memorable clashes such as England's dramatic penalty shootout loss to Argentina and Croatia's Cinderella run to the semifinals. While the team from Croatia was led by Davor Suker, who clinched the Golden Boot as the tournament's top scorer with 6 goals, the focus steadily shifted toward the French squad as their performances ignited national pride. A highlight of the group stages and knockout rounds came with France's resolute defense, orchestrated by captain Didier Deschamps and goalkeeper Fabien Barthez, as they navigated tougher challenges en route to the final. In the final held at Stade de France in Saint-Denis, the host nation faced the formidable Brazilian squad, led by their star striker Ronaldo, who had dominated throughout the competition. The match, however, unfolded as a defining moment for France's star midfielder, Zinedine Zidane. Zidane delivered a flawless performance, scoring 2 decisive headers from corner kicks in the first half, cementing his status as a legend in French football. Emmanuel Petit sealed France's 3-0 victory with a last-minute goal, sparking jubilant celebrations across the nation. Zidane's brilliance not only earned France its first-ever World Cup title, but also symbolized the diversity and unity of the team, affectionately referred to as the Rainbow Team, which included players of various ethnic backgrounds. This win proved to be more than just a sporting achievement. It became a cultural and political milestone, uplifting national morale and strengthening the country's identity within the global football community. For the first time in its prestigious history, the 2002 FIFA World Cup was hosted on Asian soil, breaking tradition in a groundbreaking co-hosting partnership between South Korea and Japan. The tournament was a spectacle of culture, technology, and drama, with both nations leaving a distinct mark on football history. South Korea shocked the footballing world with a historic run to the semifinals, defeating traditional heavyweights Italy and Spain along the way in dramatic and controversial fashion, supported by an electric home crowd. Japan, too, impressed with their best-ever group stage performance, further cementing this World Cup as a celebration of Asian football. The tournament also introduced advancements such as the use of the Fever Nova ball, designed for improved accuracy, and the semi-final stage saw Turkish speedster Hakan Şükür secure a place in the record books with the fastest goal in World Cup history, scored just 11 seconds into the third-place playoff. But the 2002 World Cup was not just about the hosts. It was also the setting for Brazil's triumphant return to glory and the redemption arc of one of football's greatest forwards, Ronaldo. For years earlier, Ronaldo's devastating performance in the 1998 final, marred by pre-match health issues, had left Brazil heartbroken. In 2002, however, Ronaldo roared back in astonishing fashion, scoring an astounding 8 goals throughout the tournament, claiming the Golden Boot. His iconic braces in the final against Germany elevated Brazil to an unprecedented 5th World Cup title. This victory re-established Brazil as the undisputed kings of global football. Under the stewardship of coach Luiz Felipe Scolari and with stars like Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, and Cafu in their ranks, Brazil became the first nation to win the World Cup on 3 different continents. Ronaldo's journey from despair to redemption captured the heart of football fans worldwide, sealing his legacy not just as a footballer, but as a story of perseverance and resilience. The 2006 FIFA World Cup was hosted by Germany, delivering a tournament filled with drama and stunning performances. The final brought 2 European football powerhouses, Italy and France, head-to-head in Berlin. Both teams had shown resilience throughout the competition, but the final was anything but predictable. The match began explosively, with France's captain Zinedine Zidane scoring a cheeky Panenka-style penalty in the 7th minute that clipped the crossbar before crossing the line. Italy quickly responded just 12 minutes later, thanks to a sublime header by Marco Materazzi, leveling the game at 1-1. Despite intense action on both ends and multiple close calls, neither side could break the deadlock through regular time or extra time. It all came down to penalties, where Italy's precision shooting and goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon's solid performance tipped the scales. Fabio Grosso scored the decisive spot kick, securing Italy's 4th World Cup title and their first since 1982. However, the final will forever be remembered for one controversial and shocking moment: Zinedine Zidane's infamous headbutt on Marco Materazzi in extra time. Zidane, who had earlier been instrumental in leading France to the final with virtuoso performances against teams like Brazil, was sent off in what would be the final act of his illustrious career. His sudden expulsion not only shocked millions watching around the world, but left France without their inspirational leader during the critical penalty shootout. The incident added layers of complexity to questions about the legacy of one of football's greatest players. Beyond this moment, the 2006 World Cup highlighted new stars emerging on the global stage, including Italy's Andrea Pirlo and goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon, who became icons of their nation's resolve. Germany 2006 remains a tournament of contrasts, a blend of triumph, artistry, and controversy that left an indelible mark on World Cup history. The 2010 FIFA World Cup was historic from the moment South Africa won the right to host. It was the first time the tournament was held on African soil, a continent often overlooked in the history of global football. South Africa rose to the occasion, organizing a vibrant festival of football that embraced the warmth, energy, and cultural richness of the nation. The Vuvuzela became the tournament's iconic soundtrack, filling the stadiums with a thunderous buzz that resonated worldwide. Notably, the visual highlight of the opening match featured Sifawi Chabalala's thunderous goal for South Africa against Mexico, a strike that catapulted the nation into global headlines. The legacy of the tournament went beyond football, leaving behind improved infrastructure and a surge of confidence for African sports on the world stage. This World Cup wasn't just a sporting event. It was a daring celebration of unity, resilience, and progress for Africa. On the pitch, the tournament saw Spain and its revolutionary tiki-taka style redefine the art of possession football. Led by iconic talents like Xavi, Andres Iniesta, and Iker Casillas, Spain dominated the competition with precision and patience, conceding only 2 goals throughout. In the final, played inside Johannesburg's Soccer City Stadium, Spain battled the Netherlands in a tense matchup that required extra time. Andres Iniesta's memorable goal in the 116th minute secured Spain's first World Cup while sparking emotional celebrations across the nation. Off the field, Shakira's Waka Waka, this time for Africa, became the tournament's uplifting anthem, capturing the joy and unity of the occasion. With over 3 billion viewers worldwide, the 2010 World Cup became one of the most watched spectacles in history, forever engraving South Africa, as well as Spain, into FIFA's storied legacy. The 2014 FIFA World Cup, hosted by Brazil, is remembered for one of the most shocking matches in football history: Germany's staggering 7-1 victory over the host nation in the semifinals. Dubbed the Mini Razzo, this match took place in Belo Horizonte's Estadio Mineiro, leaving a scar on Brazilian football. Within just 29 minutes of play, Germany scored 5 goals, with Miroslav Klose breaking Ronaldo's record to become the all-time leading World Cup scorer. Brazil, a nation synonymous with football excellence, appeared utterly dismantled defensively and emotionally, while Germany put on a ruthless display of organization, efficiency, and clinical finishing. For Brazilian fans, the match evoked painful memories of the infamous Maracanazo from 1950, but on an even larger scale. It became a defining moment in football history, showcasing the brutal unpredictability of the sport while solidifying Germany's position as one of the greatest footballing nations. The final between Germany and Argentina on July 13, 2014, at Rio de Janeiro's iconic Maracana Stadium, was a far tighter contest. Despite Lionel Messi's attempts to inspire Argentina, it was Germany's depth and tactical discipline that prevailed. The deadlock was broken in the 113th minute of extra time when substitute Mario Götze produced a moment of individual brilliance. Chesting down Andre Schürrle's cross, Götze volleyed the ball past goalkeeper Sergio Romero, securing Germany's 4th World Cup title and their first as a unified nation. This marked a symbolic victory for a team built on collective strength rather than individual superstardom. German captain Philipp Lahm hoisted the FIFA World Cup trophy, capping off a campaign that saw the squad described as a new model of football superiority. Argentina's heartbreak, meanwhile, highlighted Messi's struggle to replicate Diego Maradona's World Cup glory, though he still won the Golden Ball for the tournament's best player. The 2018 FIFA World Cup, hosted by Russia, showcased the triumph of a new footballing powerhouse. France claimed their 2nd title in spectacular fashion, delivering a blend of youthful exuberance and tactical precision. Managed by Didier Deschamps, a former World Cup winning captain from 1998, Les Bleus boasted a well-rounded squad brimming with talent. At the heart of their campaign stood a teenage sensation, Kylian Mbappé. The 19-year-old forward dazzled the world with his blistering speed, exceptional technique, and maturity beyond his years. In the final against Croatia, Mbappé etched his name in history by becoming the first teenager since Pele in 1958 to score in a World Cup final. France's 4-2 victory over Croatia was a thrilling spectacle, with goals from Paul Pogba, Antoine Griezmann, and a Mario Mandzukic own goal adding to Mbappé's brilliance. This marked a defining chapter for modern French football, solidifying their position as a global force. On the other side of the pitch stood Croatia, the tournament's most formidable underdog. Under the leadership of Luka Modric, who would later win the Ballon d'Or in the same year, Croatia defied expectations by reaching their first-ever World Cup final. The Vitrini's campaign was marked by resilience, highlighted by back-to-back extra-time victories against Denmark, Russia, and England. Their midfield maestro Modric was at the core of every moment, orchestrating plays with vision and precision. Despite falling short in the final, Croatia's effort was widely celebrated, and their journey became one of the most compelling stories of the 2018 World Cup. It was a tournament that exemplified the dynamic evolution of football, where young talents find their footing and underdogs remind the world of the sport's unpredictable magic. Throughout the FIFA World Cup's storied history, certain players have risen above the rest, solidifying their status as global icons. One of the earliest and most enduring legends was Pele, who electrified the footballing world with his dazzling performance in Brazil's triumphs of 1958, 1962, and 1970. At just 17, Pele became the youngest player to score in a World Cup final, a record that still stands today. For Brazil, Pele was more than just a footballer. He symbolized a nation's artistic and joyful approach to the beautiful game. Moving forward to the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, Diego Maradona captivated the world with his breathtaking skills, audacity, and controversial brilliance. His iconic goal of the century against England showcased his mastery of ball control and vision, while the infamous Hand of God epitomized his cunning. Maradona's performances led Argentina to its second World Cup trophy and cemented his reputation as one of football's greatest enigmas. Modern heroes have also left an indelible mark, none more prominently than Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Ronaldo, the Brazilian phenomenon, redeemed himself at the 2002 World Cup after dramatic health concerns that undermined his performance in the 1998 final. With 8 goals, including 2 in the final against Germany, Ronaldo lifted Brazil to their 5th title and proved his greatness on football's biggest stage. Meanwhile, Lionel Messi's World Cup journey has been one of sentiment and determination. After near misses in 2014, Messi finally crowned his illustrious career with Argentina's victory in Qatar 2022. His 2 goals in the final and pitch-perfect leadership throughout the tournament displayed a masterclass of skill, earning him the Golden Ball as the tournament's standout player. Together, these legends have defined eras of football excellence, inspiring generations across the globe. There are few structures in the world that evoke as much emotion and history as the stadiums that have hosted FIFA World Cup matches. Among them, the Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro stands as an enduring symbol of football's passion in Brazil. Originally built for the 1950 FIFA World Cup, its massive capacity made it the largest stadium in the world at the time, hosting over 200,000 spectators during its most infamous match, the Maracanazo, where unfavored Uruguay defeated Brazil in a heart-stopping upset. Beyond 1950, the Maracana became a cultural landmark, hosting the 2014 World Cup final where Germany triumphed, cementing its status as a venue that has witnessed both heartbreak and glory. Meanwhile, London's Wembley Stadium holds an equally cherished place in World Cup folklore. As the site of England's only World Cup triumph in 1966, the stadium became an enduring emblem of footballing pride for the hosts. Geoff Hurst's legendary hat-trick in extra time, combined with the now-debated ghost goal, forever enshrined Wembley as hallowed ground in global football history. The Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow represents a blend of Soviet legacy and modernity, tying together decades of footballing history. Originally constructed in 1956, the stadium underwent a major transformation to host the 2018 FIFA World Cup final, where France lifted their second World Cup trophy after defeating Croatia in a thrilling 4-2 battle. Luzhniki's renovation symbolized Russia's broad ambition to match historic glory with contemporary vision, leaving behind an architectural marvel. Across continents, these stadiums convey stories that transcend football. From hosting moments of triumph and despair to serving as platforms for global unity, Maracana, Wembley, and Luzhniki stand as testaments to the enduring power of sport to bring the world together. The FIFA World Cup has always been a stage for the extraordinary, and nothing captures the tournament's magic quite like monumental upsets and thrilling underdog stories. One of the most iconic examples remains the Miracle of Bern in 1954. Hungary entered the final as the overwhelming favorite, boasting a 31-match unbeaten streak and featuring legends like Ferenc Puskás. They had humiliated West Germany 8-3 in the group stage, leaving little room for doubt about their superiority. However, the final became a true David versus Goliath moment. Facing overwhelming pressure and trailing 2-0 within the first 8 minutes, West Germany staged an astonishing comeback. Helmut Rahn's decisive strike in the 84th minute sealed the improbable 3-2 victory, not only etching their names into the annals of football, but also symbolizing Germany's post-war recovery. It was more than a match. It was a turning point for a nation's morale, a footballing moment forever immortalized in World Cup history. Fast forward to 2002, the world witnessed another unforgettable upset. Senegal's stunning 1-0 victory over defending champions France in the opening match. Playing in their first-ever World Cup, Senegal was given little chance against the star-studded French squad, featuring players like Zinedine Zidane and Thierry Henry. But Senegal's determination and tactical brilliance shone through. Their relentless spirit paid off in the 30th minute when Papa Bouba Diop capitalized on a defensive mistake to score the game's only goal. The scene of the Senegalese players huddling around Diop's jersey in celebration became an iconic image of the tournament, symbolizing the unpredictability of the World Cup. France, the reigning champions, suffered the ultimate humiliation, bowing out in the group stage without scoring a single goal. Meanwhile, Senegal's triumph marked the arrival of a new force in football and reminded the world why the World Cup is cherished for its drama and unpredictability. The FIFA World Cup has seen its fair share of controversy, with refereeing decisions sparking heated debates across decades. One of the earliest and most infamous incidents occurred during the 1966 final, when England's Geoff Hurst scored a contentious ghost goal against West Germany. To this day, debates rage on about whether the ball had fully crossed the line, despite updated technology later suggesting otherwise. Another major refereeing flashpoint came in the 2002 FIFA World Cup, co-hosted by South Korea and Japan. The performance of officials in South Korea's victories over Italy and Spain was heavily scrutinized, with questionable decisions leading to allegations of bias. These incidents underscore how split-second on-pitch decisions can shape football history, leaving fans, players, and even governments embroiled in controversy. Off-field controversies have also tarnished the World Cup's reputation. FIFA itself faced one of its gravest scandals in 2015, when several high-ranking officials were arrested over allegations of corruption, including bribery in the bidding processes for hosting rights. The selection of Qatar for the 2022 FIFA World Cup, in particular, ignited outrage, with concerns over labor rights abuses and extreme heat leading to widespread criticism. Additionally, political tensions have often bled into the tournament. During the 1986 World Cup, a match between England and Argentina was labeled the Hand of God game, but it was also steeped in emotions from the Falklands War. Such incidents remind us that the World Cup, as much as it unites, is also a stage where politics and power struggles often play out. The FIFA World Cup has given rise to some staggering records and fun trivia that underline its global appeal. For instance, Oleg Salenko of Russia holds the unique record for scoring the most goals in a single World Cup match. This incredible feat came during a group stage game against Cameroon in 1994, where Salenko netted an astonishing 5 goals in a single match. Speaking of goal-scoring records, Brazil's Miroslav Klose ranks as the all-time leading goal scorer in tournament history, with 16 goals across 4 World Cups between 2002 and 2014, surpassing Ronaldo Nazario, who held the record prior to him with 15 goals. Interestingly, the fastest goal in World Cup history was scored by Turkey's Hakan Şükür, who found the net just 11 seconds into a match against South Korea during the 2002 World Cup third-place playoff. These achievements highlight not just individual brilliance, but also the unpredictable drama of the tournament. On the team front, Brazil stands out as a record holder as the only nation to participate in every single FIFA World Cup since its inception in 1930, earning the title of 5-time champions, more than any other country. Another intriguing fact is that the World Cup trophy itself has traveled extensively. The original Jules Rimet Trophy, awarded between 1930 and 1970, was permanently awarded to Brazil after their historic third victory in 1970. However, the trophy was stolen in 1983 and has never been recovered, with rumors suggesting it may have been melted down. In replacement, the FIFA World Cup trophy was introduced in 1974, featuring a gold depiction of 2 human figures holding the Earth. To preserve its value and history, the current trophy cannot be won outright and always remains property of FIFA, with winners receiving only a gold-plated replica. These stories solidify the mystique surrounding both the tournament and its iconic symbols. The World Cup, a tournament steeped in history and tradition, has embraced the advancements of modern technology to ensure fairer outcomes on the pitch. One of the most significant innovations in recent years has been the introduction of VAR, or video assistant referee, first implemented in the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia. This groundbreaking tool allows referees to review key moments in games, such as goals, penalties, red card incidents, and cases of mistaken identity, using video replay. While controversial at times, with debates surrounding its consistency and potential to disrupt the flow of matches, VAR has also been celebrated for correcting major errors that might have altered the course of games. For example, during the 2018 World Cup final, VAR was instrumental in confirming a handball by Croatia's Ivan Perisic, which led to a penalty for France. This decision contributed to France's 4-2 victory over Croatia, showcasing how technology can impact the highest-stakes moments. Before the advent of VAR, goal line technology had already paved the way for improved accuracy in critical match decisions. FIFA officially introduced this innovation in the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. This system uses multiple cameras to track the ball and determine definitively whether it has crossed the goal line, providing instant feedback to the referee. Goal line technology was thrust into the global spotlight during France's match against Honduras in the group stage of the 2014 World Cup. In that game, the technology confirmed a controversial goal after the ball struck the keeper and barely crossed the line, an event that might have gone unnoticed in previous tournaments. FIFA President Sepp Blatter once famously opposed technological interventions in football, but the undeniable success of goal line technology silenced skeptics and opened the door for further innovations. The adoption of these technologies reflects football's willingness to evolve while preserving the integrity of the game. Despite some fans and pundits expressing concerns about the human element potentially being diminished, the inclusion of VAR and goal line technology has led to greater accountability. It has also sparked broader discussions about the future role of technology in football, such as AI-driven match analysis or sensor-filled equipment to ensure even more precise on-field decisions. These innovations underscore the tournament's enduring commitment to showcasing not only athletic excellence, but also the best of modern progress. While debates are likely to continue, the legacy of VAR and goal line technology in the World Cup is set as a turning point in the history of the beautiful game. While the FIFA World Cup for men has a legacy stretching back to 1930, the FIFA Women's World Cup began its journey much later, in 1991. Hosted by China, the inaugural tournament marked a groundbreaking moment for women's football, with the United States emerging as the first champions. Since then, the Women's World Cup has evolved from a relatively modest event into a global spectacle, shining a spotlight on incredible talent and fierce competition. Teams like the United States, Germany, and Japan have carved out their legacies, while players such as Mia Hamm, Birgit Prinz, Abby Wambach, and Marta have become household names, inspiring a new generation of athletes. Over the years, the tournament has served as a platform for historic moments, such as Japan's emotional victory in 2011, which came shortly after the nation's devastating earthquake and tsunami, uniting fans worldwide. The rising prominence of the Women's World Cup has also been reflected in its growing global audience. The 2019 tournament in France broke attendance and viewership records, with approximately 1.12 billion people tuning in worldwide. This edition showcased the dominance of the United States team, who achieved their fourth title while captivating audiences with Megan Rapinoe's Golden Boot-winning performance and her advocacy for equality. The increasing investment in women's football has also seen improved infrastructure, higher sponsorship deals, and wider representation of nations. The progress tells a parallel story to the men's FIFA World Cup, a testament to football's universal appeal, one that transcends gender, borders, and barriers. As the Women's World Cup continues to thrive, it is undoubtedly leaving its own lasting mark on the beautiful game. The FIFA World Cup is far more than just a football tournament. It's a powerful cultural phenomenon that brings nations together and showcases the diverse identities of its hosts and participating teams. Host countries often see the World Cup as an opportunity to display their unique traditions and culture on the global stage. For instance, South Africa's 2010 World Cup was marked by the vibrant sounds of vuvuzelas and dynamic cultural performances, while Japan and South Korea in 2002 used cutting-edge technology and traditional ceremonies to highlight the blend of modernity and heritage in East Asia. These instances illustrate how each host nation incorporates its identity into every aspect of the tournament, from stadium architecture to opening ceremonies. The tournament also serves as a cultural exchange hub for participating teams and their supporters. Fans arrive from across the globe, bringing their flags, chants, and traditions to the host nation. This unique melting pot of cultures creates an electric and celebratory atmosphere both inside and outside the stadiums. One memorable example was the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, where fans danced samba in the streets while draped in their national colors. Similarly, in 2018, Croatian and French fans in Moscow shared meals and music, demonstrating how the World Cup unites and fosters mutual respect among diverse cultures. Such interactions emphasize the unifying power of football, transcending national boundaries and political divides. The cultural legacy of the FIFA World Cup often endures long after the final whistle. Host nations frequently experience a renewed sense of national pride, as seen in Germany after the 2006 tournament, which revitalized the country's international image and spirit. Furthermore, grassroots football communities often expand as youth are inspired by the heroes they've witnessed on the grand stage. Interestingly, the World Cup has even influenced global fashion trends, such as the iconic 1990 West Germany jersey, which remains a symbol of design creativity. Beyond its immediate spectacle, the World Cup leaves a profound socio-cultural impact, shaping not only the identity of nations, but also the broader cultural context of sport worldwide. Hosting the FIFA World Cup brings with it the promise of economic stimulation, but the reality often varies depending on the host nation's strategy and legacy planning. On one hand, the tournament generates an influx of tourism revenue, boosts local businesses, and creates thousands of jobs in construction, hospitality, and event management. For example, the 2014 World Cup in Brazil drew nearly 1 million foreign tourists and generated an estimated $13 billion in economic activity. Similarly, Germany's meticulously organized 2006 World Cup injected billions into its economy, leaving a lasting impact on infrastructure and positioning the country as a global events host. However, the tournament's financial burden can also strain host nations, particularly in cases where infrastructure investments vastly outpace long-term benefits. South Africa's 2010 World Cup, while celebrated globally, cost the government over $3 billion, with several state-of-the-art stadiums seeing sparse use afterward. This dual nature of economic outcomes has prompted discussions on the cost-effectiveness of hosting such massive global events and whether the eventual returns justify the extravagant expenditure. Beyond economics, the FIFA World Cup often functions as a platform for political messaging and global diplomacy. For instance, Argentina's authoritarian government used the 1978 World Cup to project an image of stability amid accusations of human rights abuses, sparking criticism and boycotts. Similarly, the Cold War era saw heightened political stakes, with matches like the Miracle of Bern in 1954 serving as indirect symbols of national pride in a divided Europe. More recently, Qatar's hosting of the 2022 World Cup became a focal point of controversy surrounding labor rights and cultural values, demonstrating how the event can amplify global scrutiny. Despite its roots in sportsmanship, the World Cup's stage magnifies political narratives, turning the tournament into a symbolic battleground where nations compete for more than just football supremacy. The anticipation for the 2022 FIFA World Cup began long before the first whistle in Qatar was blown. After FIFA awarded hosting rights to Qatar in 2010, the decision was met with almost immediate controversy. Criticism ranged from the country's extreme summer heat, leading to the unprecedented move of shifting the tournament to the winter, to concerns over human rights issues, particularly the treatment of migrant workers building the elaborate stadiums and infrastructure. Multiple reports emerged of unsafe working conditions and delayed reforms that amplified international scrutiny. Additionally, Qatar's lack of a significant footballing history raised questions about whether the decision was driven by merit or financial influence, a concern that has continued to shadow FIFA's reputation for corruption scandals. Yet, despite these hurdles, Qatar pushed forward, investing over $220 billion, the highest ever for a World Cup, to create state-of-the-art stadiums, cutting-edge fan experiences, and improved national infrastructure. In the lead-up to the tournament, football fans witnessed new exciting dynamics in global football. Notable stories included the heroic efforts of smaller nations securing qualification, such as Canada, making their first return to the World Cup since 1986, and countries like Senegal and Morocco demonstrating rising dominance in African football. At the same time, star-studded giants like Italy, reigning European champions, shockingly failed to qualify. Another highlight was the expanded use of technology, with FIFA incorporating advanced semi-automated offside recognition for improved match officiating. When coupled with Qatar's ultra-modern cooling technologies to combat the desert heat, these innovations symbolized how this World Cup aimed to balance tradition with technological progress. Yet even amidst these developments, the broader narrative remained one of stark contrast: luxury, unparalleled investment, and global anticipation against a backdrop of ethical concerns and divided opinions. The 2022 FIFA World Cup, held in Qatar, was unlike any other. As the first tournament hosted in the Middle East and the first held during winter months, it showcased state-of-the-art stadiums and cutting-edge technologies, such as semi-automated offside detection. The group stages were packed with surprises, including Saudi Arabia's shocking 2-1 victory over eventual champions Argentina, a game that introduced an air of unpredictability to the tournament. From Japan defeating powerhouses Germany and Spain, to Morocco becoming the first African nation to reach the semifinals, these Cinderella stories added an element of magic that captivated football fans worldwide. Meanwhile, familiar stars like Kylian Mbappe and Luka Modric shone brightly, but it was Lionel Messi's performances that stole the show, as the Argentine maestro led his team with brilliance and determination. The final, played at the Lusail iconic stadium, was an instant classic. Argentina faced defending champions France in a match that will be remembered as one of football's greatest spectacles. Messi scored twice, while Mbappe delivered a stunning hat-trick to bring the game to a nerve-wracking penalty shootout after the sides were locked at 3-3 through extra time. Emiliano Martinez, Argentina's goalkeeper, became a hero with a crucial save in the shootout, securing Argentina's third World Cup title and their first since 1986. For Lionel Messi, this was a fairy tale ending to his World Cup journey, lifting the trophy that eluded him in 2014 and cementing his legacy as one of the sport's greatest icons. It was a fitting conclusion to a tournament that redefined high-stakes drama on football's grandest stage. What sets one team apart from another on the world's grandest football stage? A defining factor is often strategy, whether it's the revolutionary total football of the 1974 Dutch team or the precision and consistency of Spain's tiki-taka system in 2010. Successful teams don't just rely on talent. They adopt game plans that adapt to their opponents, taking full advantage of team strengths and exposing weaknesses in their rivals. Brazil's 1970 squad famously combined flair with structure, using their unmatched attacking style to dazzle fans and dismantle formidable defenses. On the other hand, Italy's triumph in 2006 demonstrated how a defensively disciplined approach, anchored by players like Fabio Cannavaro, can outlast even the most gifted attackers. These teams remind us that strategic innovation can shape the outcome of an entire tournament. Equally critical is technical and physical skill. Teams that rise to World Cup glory often boast versatile players who excel in tight spaces, make precise passes, and execute clinical finishes under pressure. Think of Diego Maradona's ballet-like footwork in 1986 or Zinedine Zidane's sublime ball control and midfield dominance in 1998. These moments of individual brilliance are amplified when embedded within a collective commitment to excellence. Fitness and stamina also play pivotal roles, particularly in the grueling knockout stages where matches often extend into extra time or penalty shootouts. Germany's victory in 2014 was a testament to peak conditioning and tactical preparation, as exemplified in their relentless 7-1 semi-final thrashing of Brazil, one of the most shocking games in World Cup history. But what truly elevates a team is chemistry and leadership. Champions show an uncanny ability to play as a cohesive unit, selflessly working toward a shared goal. France's 2018 squad exemplified this. Kylian Mbappe's youthful speed and flair complemented Antoine Griezmann's composure, while N'Golo Kante quietly drove the engine room in midfield. Leadership provides the glue holding it all together, both on and off the pitch. Captains like Cafu of Brazil in 2002 and Iker Casillas of Spain in 2010 inspired their teams not just with fiery speeches, but by leading through example. This combination of chemistry, mutual trust, and steadfast leadership emerges time and again in World Cup winning teams. Without it, even the most talented squads can falter under pressure. Legendary World Cup moments are defined by their ability to evoke strong emotions, showcase incredible skill, and become etched in cultural memory. Take Diego Maradona's goal of the century during the 1986 quarter-final against England. Starting with the controversial hand of God goal just minutes earlier, Maradona seemed determined to solidify his iconic status in the most extraordinary way. Picking up the ball in his own half, he effortlessly bypassed 5 players with elegance and remarkable control before calmly slotting it into the net past England's goalkeeper. The sheer brilliance of this play encapsulated not only Maradona's greatness, but also the fiery passion of Argentine football. This wasn't just a physical feat. It was a moment of redemption for Argentina amidst lingering political tensions from the Falklands War. The interplay of politics, artistry, and triumph crystallized its cultural resonance, elevating it beyond football into a universal story of heroism. On the opposite spectrum, there are moments that turn legendary for their sheer shock value and emotional intensity, like Zinedine Zidane's infamous headbutt in the 2006 final against Italy. In his last professional match, Zidane, arguably one of the greatest players in football history, saw his career take an unexpected turn when he delivered a forceful headbutt to Marco Materazzi following alleged provocation. The surreal scene of Zidane walking past the glimmering World Cup trophy, red-carded in disgrace, became one of the most unforgettable moments in football history. Fans were left grappling with the duality of Zidane's brilliance and the emotional volatility that defined him as a player. Decades later, this incident stands as an enduring example of the human element of sport, how the pressure and stakes of the World Cup can bring out unforgettable highs and shocking lows. The FIFA World Cup represents not only the pinnacle of an athlete's career, but also one of the most mentally demanding environments in all of sports. For the players, the stakes are enormous. Billions of eyes are fixated on them. National pride hangs in the balance, and a single slip-up can shift the course of history. This immense pressure affects even the most seasoned professionals, as they navigate the expectation to perform flawlessly amid a whirlwind of external distractions. The psychology of competing on such a stage involves balancing self-confidence with focus under extreme scrutiny. Examples from history illustrate these mental battles vividly. In 1994, Roberto Baggio, one of Italy's all-time greats, missed a decisive penalty in the final, a moment that haunted him for years despite his otherwise illustrious career. Similarly, the immense pressure on Brazil in the 2014 semifinals against Germany likely contributed to the shocking 7-1 defeat, as the team struggled to stay composed under such weighty expectations. Managing emotions during the World Cup requires unparalleled mental resilience. Techniques like visualization, pre-match rituals, and mental coaching are employed widely by modern players to stay grounded. Yet, pressure can still bring uncharacteristic behavior to light. Zinedine Zidane's shocking headbutt in the 2006 final, his last ever professional match, highlighted how overwhelming emotions can overshadow years of preparation and discipline in a split second. For others, the mental toll manifests differently, like penalty shootouts exposing even well-prepared athletes to immense anxiety. Despite these challenges, the resilience of players often adds a deeper human element to the spectacle. Names like Andres Iniesta and Mario Götze come to mind, who overcame tremendous pressure to deliver decisive goals in finals, reflecting how the mental highs of victory can amplify a nation's joy and an individual's legacy. The FIFA World Cup is not just a sporting spectacle. It's a global celebration that unites fans across countries, continents, and cultures. Around the world, fans find unique ways to express their love for the tournament, often blending football with their local traditions. In Argentina, fans gather in plazas and streets, waving sky blue and white flags, singing chants, and lighting up the night with fireworks and displays of roaring passion. Meanwhile, in South Korea and Japan, watch parties feature massive outdoor screens where families, friends, and strangers alike gather to cheer for their teams, adorned in red and carrying symbolic objects like inflatable cheering sticks. In Ghana and Nigeria, football matches are accompanied by drums, dances, and singing, turning viewing events into energetic celebrations of both sport and culture. Even in non-competing countries, such as the United States before their football rise, the World Cup has been embraced by diverse immigrant communities who bring their own national pride into the festivities. These diverse fan traditions reflect how the World Cup transcends mere competition, becoming a dynamic canvas for global cultural expression. Rivalries and emotions often define the fan experience during the World Cup, creating moments of tension, joy, and heartbreak. Brazil versus Argentina, one of football's most storied rivalries, sees entire regions tuned in, with neighbors becoming foes for 90 minutes. Meanwhile, England versus Germany evokes decades of historical animosity turned into sporting drama, with fans revisiting iconic moments, such as Jeff Hurst's controversial goal in 1966. The Netherlands and Spain's intense rematch in 2014, a clash fueled by their 2010 final, kept fans on the edge of their seats, especially after Robin van Persie's jaw-dropping flying header. Social media has amplified fan engagement, with hashtags, memes, and viral reactions connecting supporters worldwide during key moments. Even rival fans connect virtually, sharing laughter over viral bloopers or marveling at moments of brilliance. From village taverns in Italy to bustling sports bars in Mexico City, fans bring their energy to every decisive second of the World Cup, proving that football is as much a game of personal identity and rivalry as it is a universal sport. The FIFA World Cup has long been a media spectacle that transcends mere football matches, evolving into a global cultural phenomenon through news coverage, documentaries, and social media. Moments such as Pele's dazzling performance in 1958, Diego Maradona's legendary Hand of God and goal of the century in 1986, and Lionel Messi's triumph in the Qatar 2022 final are immortalized not only by the players themselves, but by the media's framing and amplification of their stories. Media coverage turns athletes into heroes, emphasizing their skill, emotion, and triumphs to create universal icons of hope and inspiration. Feature articles, television specials, and viral social media content take these moments from the pitch to the psyche of millions, linking history forever with the electrifying narratives that fans relive across generations. Media also has the ability to fuel controversy, whether through highlighting refereeing decisions, political undertones, or off-field drama surrounding World Cups. For example, the disputed Wembley goal in the 1966 final between England and West Germany remains a subject of heated debate thanks to persistent media coverage and analysis over the years. Similarly, Zinedine Zidane's shocking headbutt in the 2006 final against Marco Materazzi not only overshadowed his farewell, but was scrutinized repeatedly through slow-motion replays and interviews. Today, platforms like Twitter amplify fan discourse, creating a digital arena where controversies such as VAR decisions and Qatar's hosting-related criticism dominate conversations. This ability of the media to dissect and distribute multifaceted narratives ensures that no moment in the FIFA World Cup remains confined to just 90 minutes on the pitch. In football, every generation brings its heroes, and with them, spirited debates about who truly deserves the title of the greatest. Among the most enduring rivalries is the debate between Pele and Diego Maradona, both of whom left indelible marks on FIFA World Cup history. Pele, a three-time World Cup winner for Brazil, dazzled with his elegance, prolific goal-scoring, and near-mythical aura from a young age. On the other hand, Maradona's artistry and creative genius were on full display in Argentina's 1986 World Cup triumph, where his goal of the century and infamous Hand of God cemented his status as a polarizing but undeniable force. While Pele's achievements epitomize consistency and team dominance, Maradona's story resonates with those who admire flair and singular individual brilliance. These contrasting legacies continue to spark heated discussions, pitting fans of both legends in a battle of statistics versus sentiment. In more recent times, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have fueled a rivalry that transcends football, dominating the sport for over a decade. Messi, celebrated for his dribbling, vision, and record-breaking tenure at Barcelona, carried Argentina to World Cup glory in 2022, ending years of heartbreak and silencing his doubters. Meanwhile, Ronaldo, with his unmatched athleticism, versatility, and mental fortitude, led Portugal to a European Championship victory and numerous international milestones. The Messi versus Ronaldo debate divides fans over contrasting styles. Messi, the humble playmaker whose magic seems effortless, versus Ronaldo, the relentless machine known for his work ethic and goal-scoring prowess. Regardless of allegiance, both have elevated the modern era of football, turning every encounter between the two into a spectacle and igniting conversations across cultural and generational lines. In the early years of the FIFA World Cup, football tactics were relatively straightforward, with teams employing basic formations like the WM or 2-3-2-3, focusing on attacking gameplay. The 1930s to 1950s saw an emphasis on individual talent rather than cohesive team strategies, with legendary players like Giuseppe Meazza and Ademir shining brightly. Hungary's tactical innovation in 1954 stands out. Their magical Magyars introduced a dynamic 4-2-4 formation that emphasized fluid movement and attacking flair, a precursor to the modern tactical game. Although they were famously defeated by West Germany in the Miracle of Bern, their legacy impacted footballing philosophy for decades. The 1970s ushered in a tactical revolution with the Netherlands and their philosophy of total football. Under the leadership of Johan Cruyff and coach Rinus Michels, players were trained to adapt to any position on the pitch, contributing to incredible fluidity and versatility. Their innovative style captivated the 1974 World Cup, but West Germany's tactical discipline ultimately triumphed in the final. In contrast, Brazil's 1982 squad is remembered for their artistry in attack, though their defensive frailties led to a shock elimination against a more pragmatic Italy. These contrasting approaches, creativity versus caution, reflected ongoing tactical debates during the 1970s and 1980s. Modern tactics at the World Cup have merged science, data, and strategy with traditional footballing instincts. Teams like Spain in 2010 demonstrated tactical perfection with tiki-taka, a possession-based playstyle emphasizing short passes and relentless pressing, a philosophy inspired by Johan Cruyff's teachings at Barcelona. Similarly, Germany's 2014 triumph showcased a high-intensity, counter-pressing style powered by physical fitness and pinpoint organization. Meanwhile, managers like Didier Deschamps in 2018 employed balanced systems, combining defensive stability with rapid counterattacks, solidifying France's World Cup dominance. These tactical evolutions not only reflect advancements in the sport, but also highlight how innovation remains critical to success on the global stage. Youthful talent has often been the spark that ignites a team's World Cup campaign. Iconic examples like Pele in 1958, barely 17 years old, demonstrate the impact of raw, untapped potential. Similarly, Michael Owen's dazzling breakout for England in 1998 and Kylian Mbappe's showcase of blistering pace and precision in 2018 highlight how young players can energize their teams and flip matches on their heads. Youth brings unpredictability and a fearless approach, often creating moments that rewrite history. But does it always translate to championship-winning consistency? Teams relying on youthful brilliance sometimes falter due to inexperience under pressure, exemplified by the Netherlands in 2014, whose young lineup dazzled but lost in the semifinals despite early blowout wins. These moments underline the bittersweet reality. While youth can inspire, the lack of battle-hardened resilience can be a liability on football's grandest stage. On the other hand, seasoned veterans often play the role of stabilizing forces in teams with championship ambitions. Spain's tiki-taka masters in 2010, bolstered by the experience of players like Xavi and Andres Iniesta, showcased a mastery of play shaped by years of cohesion and understanding. Italy's 2006 triumph highlighted this perfectly, with Fabio Cannavaro and Gianluigi Buffon standing as pillars of defensive and goalkeeping excellence. Yet, over-reliance on aging stars can pose risks too. Argentina in 1994 struggled to combine Maradona's waning involvement with emerging talent. The winning formula often lies somewhere in the middle. Teams like France in 2018 capitalized on a perfect blend, fusing youthful dynamism with experienced leadership from figures like Hugo Lloris. This dynamic underscores how finding the equilibrium between youth and experience is less a science and more an art, a pivotal puzzle piece in achieving football glory. The FIFA World Cup has always been a dynamic and evolving event, but what does the future hold for football's grandest stage? One key area of change could involve the host nation selection process. Historically, controversies and accusations of corruption have plagued some bidding processes, prompting FIFA to adopt stricter transparency and ethical guidelines in recent years. As sustainability and inclusivity take center stage globally, future tournaments may see a shift towards co-hosting arrangements among multiple nations, reducing financial strain on single hosts and distributing economic benefits. This could also encourage smaller countries to collaborate and partake in hosting duties. For example, the 2026 World Cup, set to take place in the United States, Mexico, and Canada, may serve as a blueprint for such multilateral collaborations, demonstrating how combining resources and infrastructure leads to a more accessible and globally inclusive tournament. Another transformative shift could arise in the tournament structure itself. With the 2026 World Cup featuring an expanded format of 48 teams, questions linger about future expansions and their implications. Will the World Cup eventually expand further to accommodate more nations, perhaps including additional playoff stages or regional qualifiers? Could innovations like tech-driven experiences, augmented reality broadcasts, or fan engagement platforms become defining features of future tournaments? Furthermore, the advent of artificial intelligence in sports analytics raises possibilities for AI-assisted coaching, predictive gameplay insights, and even enhanced referee decision-making. Amid these advancements, FIFA will also face challenges, from striking a balance between commercial growth and maintaining the tournament's sporting integrity to addressing climate considerations and technological divides to ensure equitable access for all stakeholders in the footballing ecosystem. The FIFA World Cup stands as more than just an athletic competition. It is a global phenomenon that epitomizes humanity's passion for connection, creativity, and excellence. Every 4 years, millions across the world gather to witness national teams perform on football's grandest stage, transcending borders, languages, and cultural divides through the shared love of the game. The jubilant fans donning their nation's colors, the chants echoing through streets and stadiums, and the electric energy surrounding each match remind us of the power of sport to unite people. No matter the political or ideological hurdles that may exist between nations, the World Cup proves time and again that, for the duration of the tournament, the collective focus shifts to the artistry, strategy, and emotional highs and lows of the players on the pitch. There's a palpable sense of shared humanity that binds us together in celebration of both competition and camaraderie. It's a reminder that while the world may be vast and diverse, moments of unity are woven into its fabric, often in the form of a simple ball passed from player to player. Beyond the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, the World Cup celebrates the resilience and ambition of the human spirit. It is a testament to perseverance, where underdog teams defy expectations, inspiring generations back home. It is a showcase for brilliance, where stars like Pele, Maradona, Zidane, and Messi leave a legacy that transcends sport and enters the realm of cultural history. It is also a powerful vehicle for storytelling. Every tournament carries narratives of redemption, defiance, heartbreak, and glory that resonate far beyond the matches themselves. These stories inspire not just aspiring footballers, but everyday individuals seeking the courage to chase their dreams. The World Cup taps into universal human emotions, the joy of achieving the impossible, the pride in representing one's roots, and the hope of connecting people across divides. Perhaps this is why it is not merely a tournament. It is a ritual of global celebration, a vivid reminder of what humanity can achieve when people come together in pursuit of something greater.